We're live on YouTube now, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Social Care and Services Scrutiny Panel for 13th of October. I'd like to welcome everyone. Our committee membership is myself, Jim Platt, Graham Wilson, Vice Chair, David Cook, Darcy Davison, Donna Jones, Geraldine Purvis, Denise Rennie, and Jeanette Walker. I'd also like to welcome Teresa Higgins, who attends today as a guest counsellor. Also in attendance, we have Emma Hewitt, Chief Executive of Aging Better Middlesbrough, and Joe Bush, Programme Manager of ABM. Also in attendance, we have Louise Graben, who is Head of Commission. Welcome, everyone. Right, onto the agenda. Number one, apologies for absence. Have we got any apologies for absence, Chris?
No apologies from members, Chair. Unfortunately, Eric Scholar is unable to attend the meeting today, so item 4 will need to be deferred at the panel's discretion. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2 is declarations of interest. Have we received any declarations of interest from anyone? I can't see any. 30 minutes of the last adult social care meeting. Can we agree all of those are correct?
Appreciate it.
Councillor Cook, and a seconder, please.
Agreed.
Darcy Davison, thank you. Well, item number 4, obviously Eric's not with us, so we'll leave item 4 and go on to item 5, and this will bring in Aging Better Middlesbrough, and we have Emma here and Joe Buss to give us a short update. Over to you, Emma.
Actually, Joe's going to take the lead. So, can't hear you, Joe.
Well said, Emma. I've unmuted myself. That's good. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully this will come through. We tested it yesterday with Chris. And I need to include video. There's a short video in the presentation, which we hope will come through okay. Okay, is that okay, everyone? Can you see that screen now?
Yes,
I can see it, Joe.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go for it. So just to say, yes, I'm Joe. I'm the Programme Manager for Aging Better Middlesbrough, and Emma Howitt is the Chief Exec of Middlesbrough and Stockton Mind, and Mind is the organisation that leads the Aging Better Partnership. So an update for you on where we are. Just to recap, for anyone who isn't up to date with this, it's a lottery community funded programme, and we were lucky, Middlesbrough, to get £6 million over those 7 years. Originally 6, but we managed to get an extension for this final year through to March 22. So it's all about finding out and testing different approaches to what works to reduce loneliness and isolation for people who are 50 plus and live in Middlesbrough itself. The partnership is led by Middlesbrough and Stockton Mind, and there's many different community organisations who work with us. We're managed by a core partnership. On Louise Graben sits on that, so it's great to see Louise here today. And the core partnership includes older people and stakeholders such as Louise and other organisations. And I'm sure you're already aware there's been lots of positive work and lots of learning to date. So to move on to what's been happening this year, so we got the 1-year extension, granted partly due to the impact of COVID and underspend during the programme. And the programme has changed this year. It looks very different to what it did before. We've got about 250 beneficiaries this year and about 4,350 over the last 6.5 years altogether. So this year it's much more focused on one-to-one services and very much a response to the COVID pandemic. So we have a new telephone befriending service, which is coordinated by a member of staff but delivered by volunteers. We have an older people's wellbeing service, which really grew out of the COVID response information, and that includes quite a lot of people who are housebound through to people who are now starting to engage back in the community. We deliver mental health therapies in partnership with Impact, and that's specifically looking at targeting and tailoring services for people aged 50 plus. We're continuing the digital inclusion element of the programme, but this year we have brought in a more diverse community focus, trying to engage those communities in Middlesbrough. We also have a small food and friendship programme that is working with doing a lot of intergenerational work actually with food and friendship. So they're the delivery services, and we also have a social prescribing steering group which Emma leads, and I'm sure she'll be able to tell you more about that. And we work with NHS South Tees to do a Falls partnership. So as part of that, we have an online platform to do initial assessment from the community to try to reduce the impact of people falling over and entering hospital. So the services are based on both one-to-one and groups, and it's increasing complexity and need, trying to stimulate social recovery, getting greater social interaction and reducing isolation with the older people that we work with. Okay. So one of the big things that we're doing at the moment, I hope you've heard about this, is the Festival of Ageing Better, which has been running from the 20th of September. We've got another week's worth of that. We held a big event, which was the first time many of our beneficiaries and many of our staff, including Emma, was able to get out and actually be with people again, not see people on screens. So we had about 130 people in the crypt at the town hall 2 weeks ago, and as you can see, it was very well attended, and people really responded and enjoyed that day. We were also able to have Mark Adams, Director of Public Health, who came along and did a slot for us in the afternoon. And Tony Parkinson was due to open, but unfortunately couldn't make it at the last minute. So Emma stepped in and started us off. So really, the big thing that we're working on this year is age friendly, and in partnership with the council, public health, NHS, and lots of voluntary sector organisations, we're working to really embed and instill that age-friendly approach across Middlesbrough. So this includes a variety of capacity building. We're just about to deliver our first age-friendly training called Get Ready for Age-Friendly Middlesbrough. That's going to be rolled out in the next couple of weeks. We've taken that from really good work that's been done on the Isle of Wight, where I have to say every member of council staff, every police officer, every bus driver across the whole system of the Isle of Wight, everyone has been trained in age-friendly approaches. It would be our ambition really to get that across Middlesbrough too. As well as that training, there's a suite of awareness training which we've been delivering. We had a sensory awareness training delivered by Kate Metcalf yesterday, which went down very well. We had a range of professionals on that event. Dementia Friends, delivered by Brian, has taken part last week. That included a number of carers and individuals who are caring for friends, family. We've also had Falls training, And next Wednesday, we have a digital inclusion event at the Town Hall Crypt. And that's all about assistive, adaptive technology that people can include in their own homes to enable them to get greater independence and access to services. Okay, so to become an age-friendly Middlesbrough, we're really excited this year that age-friendly Middlesbrough has been made a strategic priority for public health. So after a number of years of working with public health on this agenda, it's great to be able to work specifically to bring that in now. To start this off, we've been doing a Middlesbrough-wide consultation that has been in paper, because certainly the learning from Aging Better has been that to reach and include older people, you know, traditional paper formats are the ones that work mainly. It's also available online through Surveymonkey, and we've had it translated into various languages and formats to make it as inclusive as possible for everyone. I believe Chris is going to send these slides out to people afterwards. So there's the link to the Surveymonkey Questionnaire in there. It's open initially until the 25th of October, and we're really chuffed. We've had over 250 responses to that survey so far. So we really are pleased with the reach that we've got. It's quite a large survey. There is 9 sections involved in it, but the majority of respondents have completed all 5. And there is a £50 prize draw per section, so that helps to get that engagement. But obviously, when that consultation is finished and we've interpreted the results, we need to engage with multiple organisations, council departments, services, to interpret those results properly and to action plan based on what people have said, what their experiences of Middlesbrough are, and what they would like to see in the future. So that's something that we hope to be working with yourselves and others on. So just a little bit about age-friendly Middlesbrough. This infographic, the colourful one here, goes through the 9 different sections that I've spoken about. So the main section is about the individual and where they live, their neighbourhood, but then it goes into housing, social participation, respect and inclusion, civic participation, employment, communication and information, community support and health services, outdoor spaces and buildings. So all of those sections together are what creates an age-friendly community. And public health's vision is to make Middlesbrough an age-friendly town where people of all ages can live healthy and active lives, where people can continue to stay in their homes, participate in activities that they value, and contribute to their communities for as long as possible. So it really is an exciting agenda to be involved with. So in order to gain this status, for want of a better word, as an age-friendly town, what we aim to do before Aging Better finishes in March next year is to apply to the World Health Organization for that. It's not an accreditation, but it's sort of a stamp. So this would mean that we would have a holistic approach to aging. It's important to recognise that it is a journey, age-friendly. It's not somewhere you reach and then the work's done. So it's an ongoing programme. Importantly, co-designed with older people, hence this survey being very widespread. Multi-sector approach I've described, and it's really sort of putting age-friendly glasses on and viewing policies and services through that age-friendly lens to support intergenerational relations and the whole life course approach. Okay, so I said Tony was due to join us at the event last week. He was able to give us a very supportive statement of the political commitment. one of the things that we need to do to apply to the World Health Organization is have the application all signed off by the mayor. And so we've been working with Tony and with Mark Adams directly to ensure that that political commitment is there. And hence it's a great opportunity to come today and report this to yourselves, and hope we can do more work with you over the next 5 months to instill this agenda. I think what's really good there is that Tony's recognised the full involvement of people, so that, you know, we don't do to, that we do with people. And it was great for the older people who attended last week to really hear that message. And they've obviously responded with the amount of surveys we've had back so far. Okay, so there's just a short video here. It's about 1.5 minutes, just putting into context what I've said about age friendly and what it means.
The UN Decade of Healthy Aging is an opportunity for 10 years of concerted, global, cross-sector collaboration to improve the lives of older people, their families, and the communities in which they live. The Decade vision is for everyone to live long and healthy lives. To achieve this vision, fundamental shifts will be required, not only in the actions we take, but in how we think about age and aging. The development of age-friendly cities and communities around the world is one of 4 key priorities for action, and the UK network of age-friendly communities has a huge contribution to make towards the decade's success. As a network, we will ensure that active and healthy aging is seen as everybody's business by building relationships, learning and collaboration across sectors, services, and between generations. We will take action so that all older people are respected, listened to, and can contribute to decision-making in the communities that they live. We will embrace the diversity of older people, addressing inequalities and ageism, and building more equitable places for us all to age in. We will advocate for the physical infrastructure that meets the needs and aspirations of older people, including digital, housing, transport, and public spaces. What role will you play? Let's take action today for all our tomorrows. Let's make aging better. The UN Decade of Healthy Aging.
Please forgive me, I've managed to press that twice. Here we go. On to the next page. Come on, guys, it'll come on. All right, I'm just going to see if I can move us on to the next page here. Oh, yes, there we go.
The UN Decade.
So some of the work that we've been doing to start this off is one of the things we've launched is Please Have a Seat campaign. So this started pre-COVID. Obviously, COVID stopped play on all of this. But at the event in the last fortnight, we really put a call to action out to older people to spread the word about Please Have a Seat. So this is for local businesses, services, to offer a seat to any person who needs a quick break, basically, when they're out and about. But obviously, I think this is an example that age-friendly means friendly for everyone. So have a seat doesn't just have to be to an elderly person. So it's great to be able to launch that, and we're providing window stickers for businesses. We also have funding for small businesses if they wish to purchase a seat to provide, and to make sure that that seat is appropriate, you know, that it has arms on, that it's a good height, and a nice comfortable place to sit. So people can now sign up, businesses can sign up via the NBC website. There's now a new section on that website to be able to do that. We also launched a transport guide, an age-friendly transport guide last week. This is currently being distributed around various community locations, and yes, it's proving very popular. So just a screenshot of what the transport guide looks like. It covers all aspects of transport and really raises awareness of the things that can be offered, especially for people, say, in wheelchairs, and the sort of support that's available in Middlesbrough itself. We've also worked with the local transport companies to provide transport cards. So this is to give people the opportunity to be able to show this card to a bus driver when they get on, saying, please give me time to sit down. We do hear a lot of people say, you know, they struggle when they get up on the bus, or when they're going to their seat, there isn't time for them to sit down before it starts moving. So yeah, we've produced a range of cards to be able to support people with that. So what are our plans for the future? So it's really about connecting communities and organisations and focusing on action at a local level. So some of the things that our advisory group, ABMAG, Aging Better Middlesbrough Advisory Group, who's made up of older people, their ambition for the future is to launch an age-friendly charter across Middlesbrough that everyone can sign up to and be recognised for that. They're also very interested in producing a toilet map. Another thing that we hear a lot about, obviously during COVID, a lot of public toilets shut. Some of them haven't reopened, but it's also really vital for a lot of our members to know where the next public loo is, and be able to make it effectively. After Aging Better Middlesbrough finishes in March next year, there is only one person in public health to take this forward. So, you know, I think that's going to be an interesting process to take this forward in the future. But it is now on the MBC website. I've put the link in there. And we have our end of Aging Better Middlesbrough events on the 1st and 3rd of March in the crypt again at the town hall. And I was saying to the attendees at the event, it's really about, you know, you said, we did, in response to their survey responses. Okay, so age friendly, we aim to be our biggest legacy of Aging Better Middlesbrough. But we're also doing a lot of work with different people on sustainability. So we're working with Chris Thompson under Eric Scollay on digital inclusion. Sensory loss has been a big priority for us this year, and older people's well-being, and seeing how we can continue the good practice in Chris's services for the future. That's primarily looking at staying put and staying included, but also other options. We're working with Louise Grabham on commissioning. One of the things that's happened that has really come to the fore after COVID, and with us going back into people's homes, is hoarding has become a huge issue, the scale of it, and that's one thing that we're hoping to be able to influence for the future, the awareness of that and the need. Emma McKinney's in public health, we're working very closely on with the whole age-friendly agenda, and yeah, look forward to continuing that. Also, the social prescribing steering group that was started as a result of ABM, that will continue beyond. Emma, I don't know if you can say a little bit about that.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, happy to. Back in I'll just say very briefly, but happy to answer any questions. So back in 2019, when we saw potential for NHS investment in social prescribing, and with the support of the lottery, who are funding Aging Better, we started to work with local GP practices around the potential for kind of raising their awareness about the potential of social prescribing, the fact that some resource was being allocated to it and how that could be delivered in Middlesbrough, and what sort of a model we could look at, kind of really drawing on the strengths of voluntary organisations like Mind, but the wider voluntary sector as well. And we used, I guess, the reputation of Ageing Better and the resource that Ageing Better had to really encourage GPs to think about the potential for it and take it forward, because there wasn't a requirement to do it, it was just an opportunity. And it's just been really successful and really effective. So we started, after the build up to it, we started in April 2020, so just at the beginning of COVID. But in spite of that, we started with 5 staff in Middlesbrough. And after a current recruitment drive, we'll have 17 staff members in Middlesbrough working into GP practices, providing all age support for people who don't necessarily have a medical issue or their medical issues being addressed, but they need additional social support. So yeah, in a nutshell, it's been a really effective piece of work that's continuing, that came out of the Ageing Better programme.
Thanks, Emma. Okay, so moving on, nearly at the end now. So just to remind people that our learning reports are available on the Ageing Better Middlesbrough website, and it includes a range of different themes and topics. We have worked with Teesside University to do those evaluations, and we're lucky this year to have an internal secondment into our team. And we're working very closely with her and stakeholders and strategic stakeholders as well to produce our final report, which will be launched at the events in March. The working title at the moment is Recommendations for an Age-Friendly Middlesbrough, System Structures, Partnerships. And we're planning a range of different workshops from frontline workers up to policymakers, really, to make sure that this report can be useful for the future, that it's not just a report that will sit on a shelf, that can be used. Okay, so I think you can see that the impact of the Ageing Better programme finishing in Middlesbrough is quite significant. We've played a huge part, I think, in recovery from COVID for the older people. And I think, you know, the impact of that is there's going to be slower recovery, increased social exclusion, increased levels of loneliness and isolation. Everyone who has taken part has reported much better feelings of well-being and decreased loneliness. This all leads to further widening health inequalities, increasing demands on services, and disparities in health and social care. And it really leaves us concerned, really, about the inequity of access for the ever increasing older population in Middlesbrough. So it's good to be able to report this today and see how we can work together for the future. So thank you. That's the end of the presentation. And yes, are there any questions?
Okay, thank you, Joe and Emma, for looking after our ageing population in Middlesbrough and doing such a brilliant, rewarding job. I have one question before I throw it open to the panel, please. In your first slide, you said you have 4,350 participants over 6.5 years. That's 670 a year. And you said you've only 250 this year. Is there a reason for that decline, please?
Yes, as I said during the presentation, the programme has changed very much from what it was in those first 6 years. The last year, this 7th year, is much smaller in terms of delivery. So we no longer provide, you know, the very encompassing, widely spread taster activities. It's much more on working with the hardest to reach and making sure we can do one-to-one work with them to help them really engage with the community before we've gone. So it's a much smaller programme this year, Jim, hence the lower numbers this year.
Okay, thank you for that. Right, well, I've got Dorothy's hand up. and Denise, we'll take Dorothy first, and then Denise, and then
Yeah,
Jenny.
I don't know how you want me to do this, Chair, but I've got quite a few things I'd like to make a comment on. Can I actually just go through them, or do you want me to do one at a time?
Yes, Dorothy, go ahead, as long as it doesn't take half
Yeah.
an hour.
Just that with regards to the Aging Better Middlesbrough, I'm so pleased to hear that you're still processing with the age-friendly town. It's something I'm very passionate about, and it is really necessary. With regards, you were talking about how you were helping people, talking to people. Has it been easy to get volunteers? And how many people have we actually helped? With regards to the social prescribing, another question is, how many surgeries have we reached in Middlesbrough that we can inform people how to actually do their own prescriptions online? I know Chris Thompson's been working on this, but I'd like to see it in the actual surgeries so that people know that we're there to help them. With regards to the event you held, I never seen it advertised at all, and I'd like to know how you advertised that. And the last thing I'm going to ask you about is regards to with reaching older people. At the minute, we have a problem in this area with regards to our television masts. And lots of elderly people won't have the television at all, although they said today that it was supposed to improve. But I know in my area in particular, and in East Middlesbrough, I don't think the signal's any better. So I wondered if Aging Better were doing anything to help people in that situation. Sorry for all that. Thank you.
That's fine,
Dorothy.
Dorothy.
Do you want to answer all of those, Joe?
I'm sure with the help of Emma as well. So, so your first question I think was about volunteers. We have less volunteers this year, Dorothy, because the scale of activities is smaller. But we do still work with the ABMAG members, of which there are about 8 people. We have an ABMAG meeting this afternoon as well. And there were a number of different volunteers at the event last week, week before. And we've been, partly what we're doing is engaging with other organisations to make sure that people still have a lifeline after us. So the event included 20 different market stalls from different organisations where people can get support to ensure that it moves the focus away from ABM only activities into other services that are existing. So if you count those as people who are supporting the programme, then there's an awful lot of people. But the volunteers are less traditional volunteers than we had in the past. Social prescribing, Emma can help us with that one.
Yeah, yes. I guess just to reinforce what Joe said there in terms of the reach of Aging Better, I think that's demonstrated by the fact that we've had 250 responses to a survey, and it's a really long survey as well. So we've done really well, and I think it's just built up over time, really, those kind of connections with people and so on. So it will be a shame when that goes, but actually, I think we have all supported lots of other voluntary organisations who will stay in touch with lots of people, so that network will still exist. Just in terms of social prescribing, so we're in all of the GP practices in Middlesbrough. So there are now three primary care networks, which are networks of GPs, and we work with each of those. It is still varied in terms of how proactive each practice is and the GPs within it, but we do get referrals from all of them. And it's a constant thing really of trying to get GPs on board, and the best way we found to do it is to identify GP champions, who will talk to their peers and encourage them, and in some cases, really shame them into saying that, into getting referrals through. So we're doing really well in terms of GP connections, and that's been really helped by COVID. Actually, one of the things that has really made a difference is that GPs have recognised that this wider support is really needed for people in the community, and the service is built really quickly as a result of that, which is fab. In terms of the digital stuff linked to social prescribing, there are a couple of things. So Aging Better has its own digital initiative, where we work closely with the Hope Foundation, and they are supporting people through GP practices to get online. And if people are referred by their GP to one of our social prescribers, they'll also talk to them about their digital access as well, and if they want more support in that area. So there is a number of ways that happens, but I do still think it's a real issue for people, for lots of people, older people and other people, about how people access GPs at the current time. Hopefully that answers that question. Back to you, Jo.
Okay, I think the next question,
Thank you.
Dorothy, was about the event. So the event was primarily focused on Aging Better beneficiaries rather than other people coming, if you see what I mean. And so we shared the invitation through wellbeing networks, voluntary sector networks, age-friendly partnerships, a whole variety of different things. But we also posted a hard copy of the survey and an invitation to all of our previous members. So it was a huge mail out, as you can imagine. There was all our tickets sold out, and we have a list of people that we're hoping to do a smaller event for, to make sure that we can engage them in the messages as well. But that's maybe why you didn't see it yourself, Dorothy. So, but yourself and other members here will certainly be a priority for some of the events that we're doing later in the year. And yes, the TV mast has caused a lot of issues for a lot of people, hasn't it? Our funding is smaller this year, so you know, we are putting information out, but it is smaller than it was in the past. But for all our organisations that are working with us, we've made sure that the message is there, the digital message in general, and working with BBC Radio Tees on things like providing digital radios for people, and getting people online so they can listen to radio on the internet has been a big thing. Okay, I think that answers your questions.
Yes,
if that's
thank
all
you
right.
for that. It's just that so many people, with regards to the television mast, so many people possibly could get in touch with you with regards to this and what to do. Do you have that availability to give people information to say you can do this, or you can contact such and such a person or place to help, because it's so important to so many people in the area, especially Middlesbrough?
It is. Now, I think, Dorothy, that what I'm going to do is take that away. It hasn't been planned at the moment because it's not in our resource. But, you know, posting a one page of support information to people could be something that we can look at. So certainly I'll take that on, and I'd like to get back to you on that as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your answers.
Okay,
Thank
Dorothy.
you.
Yeah, okay. Well, the mast was supposed to be up and running by 6 o'clock this morning, but I know mine's isn't up and running, so I don't know about anybody else's. Well, Denise, first of all, and then Jeanette.
Right, thanks, Chair. I think you've covered most of the points I was going to raise. I was very interested in the total beneficiaries that have been helped, because that was quite a large number. So anything else you can add to that would be great. The other area was mental health therapies, and whether you can give us a little bit more information on what that is and how that's operating. And my final point is, what would it cost to continue this, or are you not at that stage yet? Because I'm getting the sense that there's a concern that because the funding is reduced, the lottery funding is ending, we are going to keep one person in post to keep this rolling forward, but the amount of work and the amount of activity that has been started, it would be a real shame to see any of that reduced by any measure. Thank you.
Yes. So Denise, in terms of the total beneficiaries reached, just give you a little bit of a breakdown. It's been about 70% female, 30% male. When we look at this year's figures, I think it'll be interesting to see if this year is different to the overall. The most prevalent age group has been 60 to 79. And it's sort of about 10% in those outlying ages there. We do have some people on the programme who are 100. And about 50% of the 4,300 beneficiaries have come from the most deprived wards in Middlesbrough. And when we look at the remaining 50%, they are from the areas of those wards not recognised as most deprived, but you know, the ones that that are on the outskirts really, and experiencing isolation and loneliness there. In terms of mental health therapies, so what we've done is we've seconded therapists from the Impact Service, but specifically those with an interest in working with people, and it's very much been about looking at the differences, the different tweaks, tailoring to services. This is obviously quite restricted. We have statutory as such services, you know, it has been recognised, I think, by the therapists and the service, the wider Impact Service, that needs of 50-pluses can be different. And I think it's really important to get that message heard, and something very much for that age-friendly Middlesbrough to take on in the future. And in terms of the future, I've been working with Tony and Mark Adams to look at some of the things, the cost of some of the things this year, and where we might suggest, if there was any funding available, where those priorities might be for the future. That is a document that we can provide with Chris to be sent round after. And it's thinking about how we can embed or extend some of the services into things like staying put, staying included, and wider things in the future.
Thank you.
Is it okay to add a few things? Is that all?
Yeah, go for it, Emma.
Okay? Is that right, Jim? Sorry, just in terms of time.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just briefly then, I would just say that those numbers I think sometimes hide the depth of the work that Aging Better has done. So there's been a real broad range of things, from just signing up to be a member and receiving information, to some quite long-term intensive work with people who are extremely isolated and lonely and with all sorts of different issues in their lives. And I think the programme has been really effective at reaching those people who are really some of the most lonely and isolated for all sorts of reasons. It's never just been loneliness and isolation. It's been a myriad of health and other social issues as well for those individuals. And the programme's done really effective work and has demonstrated, I think, for the whole national programme, you know, that it's reached and benefited those people more than any other Aging Better programme in any other area. So we've done that really well. And I think that's one of the things that it's really important that we think about how we maintain that. And I think that's, you know, no one has loads of money anymore. And certainly we appreciate that no one has the kinds of resource that the lottery gave the Aging Better programme. But actually, if there are ways that we can continue to develop closer working relationships and collaborations. So, for example, between the social prescribing programme and the similar social prescribing elements of social care and so on. And we're working on those kinds of relationships and that kind of joint working and collaboration to try to make sure that the resource that is left is used as effectively as possible for those people who need it the most, really. And I guess our approach to therapy has been the same, although Aging Better had its own therapy for the first 6 years that it was able to offer to those older people who are struggling the most. It seemed like the best way to maintain that really was to try to embed it into kind of statutory funded, NHS funded psychological therapies. So we've kind of trying to embed it in that at the moment to make sure that our experience of working with older people is kind of shared with that service, and they're able to continue it on behalf of the programme, really, with the resources that they get through the NHS. So that's, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Emma. We'll move on. Jeanette, Geraldine, I see your hand up, but Jeanette was up first. So Jeanette and then Geraldine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you. I think you've answered some of my questions. I mean, one of the first things I mentioned is I still get a hard copy to sift through the posts from Age. So I still get all your bump, as they say. So thank you very much for that. One of the things that I was going to ask is what happens after Aging Better is actually ends, and what's the hoped for outcome for older people in Middlesbrough? Is there, I would imagine it's like a lasting legacy from Aging Better. I'd like to see that. And also, you'd obviously expect some full involvement from all the businesses and services in Middlesbrough to continue the good work that's been done, and hopefully they will continue to do that. And I think that's most important as well. They've committed up to now. Will they continue? That's one of the questions that would be asked. And also, I'm very curious regarding the housing part that you mentioned. What difference has it made regarding housing? Because housing for older people appears to me, and yeah, appears to me to be, well, older people only need one bedroom, one front room and a kitchen and a bathroom. That's all they need. They don't need anything else, you know. And I'm very curious as to why that it seems to be the thought on any housing providers, which continues to this day, knowing that many people, they may be a couple, an older couple, but they usually sleep in different rooms because of their illnesses and different practicalities, really, that they need to sleep in a different room. So when they come to maybe downsize, they would still like 2 bedrooms, and 2-bedroom properties on the ground floor these days is like looking for gold dust. So I think that that's something that none of the housing providers seem to have appeared to have taken on board. Even the new housing now that's being built in Middlesbrough, and none of that has been taken on board. So what is going on there? They say that they're going to provide for the communities. Personally, I think there's some work that needs to be done there regarding providing that sort of housing for older people. I mean, some older people might eventually end up with a living carer. Now, where's that person supposed to sleep? No second bedroom, no availability, small little boxes for older people till they pop their socks or go into a care home. I honestly believe that's how it seems to me. And I think to a lot of people, we're not really caring for those in the housing market. And we still haven't. You look at any housing scheme at the moment, any projects that's being taken place, none of them are looking at that issue. At least I can't see it. So I'd like to see that looked at. And I honestly believe that little video was brilliant and it was very good. And I'm glad that Aging Better has done really well. I wish it could continue. I hope that the lottery rethink what their actual plans are for the future. I think it would be nice to see that that extra money that they're getting in now would actually go towards this to continue in a slightly maybe different structured way. But I honestly believe that you are a needed organisation along with other organisations that deal with the majority of people in our communities at the moment, because we are encouraging more people to stay at home, to live their lives longer at home without the need for going into care homes. And I'm sorry that is, I know that in some cases that is a necessity and some people want to do that, but a lot of people want to stay in their own home for as long as they possibly can. So I'd like to see yourselves go forward into the future, maybe different structure, but in the future. So hopefully the lottery won't let us down and maybe come to our rescue in some respects. All right. So thank you very much for all your hard work, by the way. And thank you to Aging Better.
Thanks, Jeanette. That's really good.
Yeah. Can I just reply, Jo? Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Just to reply. I think we want the legacy of Aging Better Middlesbrough to be age-friendly Middlesbrough, but that's dependent on guys like you actually to use your political influence and your positions and to take it on board, to support the council to take it on board and to continue it. So we are doing our best this year and in the next 6 months to get it into as good a position as as we can in terms of the age-friendly agenda, get it signed up to the World Health Organization, working with public health to support that. But whether it continues or not will be totally dependent on the wider community and wider stakeholders to really keep it going, I think. So I think that's kind of back to you, really. I think we've had some participation in the programme through housing, but again, I think that's beyond our level of influence, and it has been beyond Ageing Better's influence. My understanding is the council has some influence over that, but also not a great deal. So again, I think it's just one of those things that hopefully through the age-friendly agenda, we'll be able to bring people with an interest in housing together to think about actually how can we influence people to build the housing that people want in the future. And that's the approach that we all need to take.
Just to add to that, Jeanette, we do now have an age-friendly steering group that's come together, but it is our intention to try to get subgroups for each of the areas that can do more, actual work with those departments, the people who are responsible. And housing is very much on our agenda to try to engage there. But as Emma says, it's sort of partly out of our hands. We need those people to engage with those forums. And yeah, it'd be great to have your support in that.
I'll do it. I don't mind being on any of that, Definitely. I don't mind lobbying all them people with money that's building houses. No way, I don't mind. I would do as much as I can, but I'm limited on my political persuasion as well. Obviously, I will do as much as I can. But unfortunately, it's whether their ears are open to listening to what's actually needed, rather than just making statements about all different things and then not actually looking at what's actually needed. Yes. And I think that's most important. And I think, bless you.
Thank you.
But I honestly believe that we have it as an area that I've noticed it for years, actually, that this has not been addressed, and it is still looking bad. Even the housing providers, such as the association, 13 being one of them, one of the largest in Middlesbrough, have not looked at it properly. The houses, the boxes, the places that they've got for people of an older generation, they offer them, it's just not satisfactory. And I think that it's something that's very sadly lacking in Middlesbrough. So I'll leave it there, but I would do as much as I can.
Thank you. Is Jim on mute there?
Unmute, Geraldine.
Yes, I'd just like to thank Ageing Better. Listening to the progress on transport since COVID, but now I'm getting back on the buses. Arriva has certainly given people plenty of time to get on the bus, to sit down before they go. And being an older person with a walker, that's very, very helpful. Thank you for including transport. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Geraldine. David, did you have your hand up earlier or not?
Yes, Chair.
Go ahead.
I was just going to thank the Ageing Better team very much. So you came to Stainton, you did a presentation quite some time ago, and I think it's been excellent what you've done. And I'm, for one, I'm very sad it's going to end next year. But I think your legacy will live on for a long time, because you brought to the attention of what the problems are. And as Geraldine just pointed out there, I think the buses, etc. So thank you very much for what you've done. And I agree, it's a great pity that you won't be continuing beyond next year. But thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
Yes, thank you, David. Anybody else? What's that question? Darcy, come back in.
Can I just add one final thing? I think Ageing Better Middlesbrough have been fantastic for Middlesbrough, and they've done a lot of good stuff. And I just hope that the legacy they are leaving actually continues. Thank you, Chair.
I think we all agree. Graham, would you want to come in now? See your hand up.
Just a quick one, Jim. Thanks for that's the Ageing Better and all the what we've just learned about. But going back to what Jeanette's on about there, 13 beyond housing and carry the other one. they're making it very difficult because when you go for the bidding to bid on a bungalow or house, especially for the older generation. Tees Valley Housing, their site is a nightmare to try and get through. You've got everything, you've got everything on there, and on some of them they've got age restrictions on them as well. And there's a few 2-bedroom bungalows about. You try and get one. I've been working with 2 couples now for the last 6-7 months. Can't get near a bungalow. They come on the site because there's a couple I've been working with. They don't have a computer. They can't bid for one. I'm trying to get Tees Valley Housing to keep an eye up and give them a ring when there's anything there, but it's a nightmare. It is really a nightmare. So something needs to be done to get people, the elderly people, on the bidding list a lot easier, so they can actually bid for 2-bedroom bungalows, which there's some around, not many because they are brand new. And as soon as you put them up on the bidding list, they're gone. It's as though they're allocated before they get put on the list, if you like. But I don't know how that works, so I can't even say that one. But there's a few there, and there's a few more to come. I don't know that one. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a job for planning rather than Aging Better in Middlesbrough about bungalows. When I was involved with planning, I asked to make sure there was more bungalows being built because the population is aging. There's more older people and they can't get up and down the stairs like they used to. Jeanette, you want to come in now?
Yeah, well, actually, I'll refute what you just said there, Chair. Sorry. I think it's up to us to actually encourage and lobby those people who are building houses in our town and our areas to make sure they do include and become inclusive of older generation. That's what I was getting at. I know it's to do with planning at the end of the day in a lot of ways, what they actually put up, but we've got to encourage the builders and the people who build all these houses and make these decisions to put the planning forward to encourage and utilize some of their availability for their housing for us, for the older generation who don't want a little box. We don't want a box before we actually go into one. We want a box to live in. We want 2 bedrooms. We maybe want a little bit better than what just they're offering at the moment. That's what I'm saying. We have to lobby them. And I think Aging Better was one of those avenues that could actually lobby the bigger people, the Taylor Wimpys, all these different people. They're the ones who build the houses, and we've got to lobby them. So with respect, Chair, I will refute what you just said. It is to do with planning at the end of the day, but ultimately the plans that go forward are actually developed by the project people who build the houses. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for that, Jeanette. We'll move on. Anybody else, any questions? No, I don't see any hands. Well, thank you, Emma and Joe. If you'd like to leave, you're very welcome to leave, or you can stay to the end. But we have to move on now. Item number 6 on the agenda is the overview and scrutiny update. Overview and scrutiny board met on the 8th of September, and the following matters were considered at the meeting. The mayor's attendance at the OSB, the mayor of Middlesbrough, executive member for adult social care and public protection, Stroke League executive members for children's safeguarding. Mayor Preston was in attendance to update the board on his aims and aspirations, progress made to date, and to highlight any emergent issues relating to his portfolios. There was a scrutiny chairs updates, the Children and Young People's Learning Scrutiny Panel final report on behaviour, discipline and bullying in schools, the Executive Forward Programme, work programme, and the Chief Executive's update. And that was the overview and scrutiny board. And next date of our next meeting is the 10th of November. Number 8, is any other urgent items? I have none. If anybody else has none. No, Denise, you want to come in there?
Yeah, thank you. It's not an urgent item, it's a request. This is happening as a number of committees recently. We're getting lots of verbal updates, which are great. You know, the officers come along and respond to any questions. But if possible, can we have information in advance, please? It just helps us with the scrutiny process. So if Eric's going to be coming along to the next meeting, for example, if there's anything you can share with us in advance of that meeting, I would find it really helpful. Thank you.
Can we arrange that, Chris?
Yes, if you leave that with me, Chair, I'll pass that on to Eric and others. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Can't hear the
Chair,
chair.
Chair, your microphone's on mute.
Sorry. Item number 9, I'm going to ask for the committee to pass a resolution to go into a private session and exclude the press and the public for consideration of the following item, which is an update in the Astor Care Home. As this report contains commercially sensitive information, I would ask you to vote that the press and any private people are excluded from our meeting. So can we have a show of hands to vote that we exclude the press and the private people?